Colin Rugg said the Charlotte City Council took a cake break to celebrate a birthday, delaying their discussion about the brutal train stabbing. Local leaders denied this was the time to consume, local leaders decided this was time to consume some carbs and sugar. For council member Dimple Ajmera, once their tummies were full with cake, the local leaders discussed the tragedy. And there's a tweet here, but somebody else reposted it. So the first tweet, because this is in a video, says, they are indeed taking a break for cake. The cat's safety briefing will have to wait a little longer. And then underneath that, he says, here's the cake, and posts a picture of a Nothing Bundt Cakes cake. I mean, Nothing Bundt Cake is pretty fucking good. I love their butthole cakes. But maybe if you're supposed to be talking about a white woman who got senselessly murdered on your train, you don't need to post about your cake break. And then in a very stunning purview, a little stunning show here of just no self-awareness, they respond, cake time is over. The Charlotte City Council is now starting its discussion of the fatal stabbing. Brother, at least when I started making 9/11 cakes, it was like multiple decades after it had happened. You know, it wasn't like, okay, the Twin Towers just collapsed, we should talk about it, but first let's have some cake. You know, it wasn't like, at least I waited a couple of decades, right? To like start being like, you know what, let's have some cake on 9/11 anniversary. Never forget, am I right, ladies? And then, immediately after the fucking cake time is over, he says, interim CEO Brent Cagle starts off the discussion by expressing his condolences to the family of Irinia Zarutska. This is like a video game developer would not write a character this callous because people would say it's unrealistic. People would be like, this is cartoonishly villain-like, and I can't imagine this is a person that exists, so my immersion has been broken. You know? Like, Hillis Mallory, thank you. Let them eat cake. I prefer maybe after the talk. Yeah, right? That's a little strange. Like, if he hadn't tweeted about it, I don't think anyone would have known about it either. So it's like, not only did they have to eat cake, they had to let everyone know that they were prioritizing the cake over talking about the stabbing. Honestly, don't care that they had cake, but why post about it? That's what I'm saying. Like, if they didn't post about it, nobody would have known that they were like, we're going to talk about this brutal stabbing, but first, a cake break, right? Like, nobody would have known, and nobody would have, like, been angry about it, but I feel like that's probably part of the point, right? They're not going to be able to get off on the kind of power they have over you unless they let you know the weird shit they're doing. But it's also edited, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's all edited to show like this, so you don't actually see her getting stabbed. But then you just see him walking around with tons of blood falling off of him. Which, like... man, what? I was about to give you a heart attack. There were a couple of large Twitter accounts, I don't know if it was reporters or not, but they were asking for the unedited video. But apparently, like, the train people released the video edited themselves, so I don't know if the raw even, like, exists outside of the company. There were other people who did nothing about it. Yeah, and like I replied to someone on my tweet about this, it doesn't surprise me that no one stepped in and did anything, right? I had a lot of people try pushing back on me when I was looking at that girl that was getting robbed by someone ages ago, and there was like a college guy sitting on the grass just watching it happen. And I was like, yeah, I don't blame him for sitting there and watching it happen because we're a sick society, but in a healthy society, he would have got up and he would have helped because that's what you're supposed to do. Unfortunately, we demonize people, especially men, who try to be heroic. They want you to not care about your fellow citizens. They want you to not get up and help. It's like a culture in China where you see someone getting attacked, you see someone getting run over, and then you just go about your day. Doesn't matter. Daniel Penny, anyone? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Aesthetica here saying there's no peaceful solution to this. And he shows a screenshot of the GoFundMe. Is this a screenshot cropped to hide Ray Sistman parody account? Somebody who is delusional says. So they do have a GoFundMe, unfortunately. Let's see if they raised anything else since I opened this. Nope, only $5, thankfully. But, I don't know, man. While what happened on the Blue Line was a tragedy that we mustn't lose sight of, is the fact that DeCarlos Brown Jr. was failed categorically by the judicial system and the mental health services of North Carolina, and as such is not entirely to blame for what happened. As it is so, we endeavor to raise funds for his legal defense and hope to avoid punitive sentencing, and to also get him the aid he requires. I think the aid he requires is lead at this point. 15 times out of prison, man. Fucking stop it. Get some help. It's a failure of the system, not for him, but for the rest of us who are forced to live with him. I just don't understand how you can advocate more for criminals than your population, and people still vote for you. People still vote for you, people still cheer for you, people still support you when you are actively making their lives worse. It doesn't make sense. It's like a weird form of Stockholm syndrome, man. Oh, look, another woman mayor being retarded. Imagine giving women positions of power. So, Mayor Lyles issues a statement on the deadly Charlotte light rail stabbing. Charlotte Mayor Vi Lyles issued a statement Saturday on the deadly August stabbing of a woman on the light rail. Video footage released Friday shows the moments leading up to and following Irina Zarutska, 23, being stabbed on the light rail. At around 9:50 p.m. on August 22nd, light rail passengers stabbed Zarutska several times. Officials said she was stabbed in the throat at least one time, and Zarutska was pronounced dead on the light rail. DeCarlos Brown Jr., 34, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection with Zarutska's killing. Brown was ordered last week to remain in jail and undergo a competency evaluation. I had a thought about these competency evaluations, but I feel like if I express that thought, I'll get a fresh round of cancellation articles. Lyles posted on X Saturday morning saying the stabbing was a senseless and tragic loss. And I guess this is the quote from the mayor. The video of the heartbreaking attack that took Irina Zarutska's life is now public. I want to thank our media partners and community members who have chosen not to repost or share the footage out of respect for Irina's family. Bro, what? What? I want to thank our media partners and community members for covering up this story and not letting people see how senseless and disgusting it really was. Because if only they knew the truth, they might be more radicalized. I fucking hate politicians. This is a senseless and tragic loss. My prayers remain with her loved ones as they continue to grieve through an unimaginable time. Like so many of you, I'm heartbroken, and I've been thinking hard about what safety really looks like in our city. I remain committed to doing all we can to protect our residents and ensure Charlotte is a place where everyone feels safe. Maybe actually do something about criminals then? I don't know, man. Video obtained Friday, September 5th, shows that the attack happened within minutes of Zarutska getting on the rail car, as officials previously reported. At 9:46 p.m. on August 22nd, Zarutska entered the train and sat down in front of Brown. Brown allegedly attacked Zarutska at 9:50 p.m. At 9:52, at least one bystander could be seen running to Zarutska to render aid. About 30 seconds later, Brown exited the train at its next stop. Authorities reportedly found Brown shortly after the deadly stabbing. He was taken to the hospital for a laceration on the outside of his hand, and then charged with murder after his release from the hospital. It was not clear exactly how Brown was injured in the attack. Yeah, I thought that there was like a bit much blood dripping off of him from, like, if he had just stabbed someone and then moved away immediately after. I was like, damn, how is there so much blood coming off of this guy? Did he accidentally stab himself? What is this? What do you mean allegedly? Yeah, journalists just put allegedly on everything, you know? How do we accept living like this, man? How have we just been collectively Stockholm syndromed into, yeah, we should just live with violent criminals. It should be fine that they get released like 14 fucking times. It should be okay that you're a murder suspect who's being charged and you just get to go home on bail. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly normal. And like, how do we get out of a situation where people in positions of power hate us this much? Like, what are you supposed to even do, man? Response to the deadly stabbing. Okay, where's the thing? Full statement. This is a tragic situation that sheds light on problems with society's safety nets related to mental health care and the systems that should be in place. Brother, he had 14 prior arrests? That's not we need a safety net and mental health care. That's, this man is not mentally ill, he's just a bad person, dude. As we come to understand what happened and why, we must look at the entire situation. While I do not know the specifics of the man's medical record, what I have come to understand is that he has long struggled with mental health and appears to have suffered a crisis. When a woman gets senselessly murdered by being randomly stabbed, likely because she was white in this case, the way that they report on this happening versus if the races were swapped, like, I am tired of it. It's so fucking exhausting. We get how many weeks of wanton destruction and riots when the races are reversed? And it's not... And when the races are reversed, it's not even like a wanton and random act. It's like, oh, he was charging at the police officer and trying to steal the cop's gun, but hands up, don't shoot! You know? This was the unfortunate and tragic outcome. While there are questions about the safety and security of our transit system and our city, I do know there have been significant and sustained efforts to address safety and security within our transit system and across our city. What a whole lot of words to say literally fucking nothing. Charlotte is by and large a safe city. I'm gonna press X, woman. Cats, by and large, is a safe transit system. However, tragic incidents like these should force us to look at what we're doing across our community to address root causes. We will never arrest our way out of issues such as homelessness and mental health. Restorative justice is bullshit. Some people need to be arrested, and some people can't just leech off of taxpayer dime for their entire life for like 1,000,000 years in prison. Some people are just not fit for society. Arrests are not the solution. Physical removal is. Yes, to have a healthy society, some people are not fit for it. I am committed to doing the hard work with Mecklenburg County community leaders, healthcare service providers, and the private sector to ensure that Charlotte continues to be one of the best cities in the world. I don't think anybody thinks that Charlotte is one of the best cities in the world. With the highest quality of life for everyone. I want to be clear that I am not villainizing those who struggle with their mental health or those who are unhoused. Mental health disease is just that, a disease like any other that needs to be treated with the same compassion, diligence, and commitment as cancer or heart disease. Our community must work to address the underlying issue of access to mental health care. There has not been a single sentence from this vile woman about the victim. This is all, like, compassion and towards the fucking perpetrator. This woman is evil and should not be allowed any position of power. I want to be clear. I'm not villainizing those who struggle with mental health. I don't care what he was struggling with. He's fucked up, man. And we're just lucky he's not smart enough to try a mass casualty event. And that he just went out and did shitty things individually. Like, holy fuck. Forget in their eyes the stabber is the victim. That's insanity. Also, those who are unhoused are more frequently the victim of crimes and not the perpetrators. Brother, I do not give a fuck about who is more frequently the victim of crimes in your opinion here when we're talking about a man who stabbed a woman to death for literally no reason. Too many people who are on the street need a safe place to sleep and wrap-around services to lift them up. We as a community must do better for those members of our community who need help and have no place to go. No, you know who you need to do better for? The people in your community, whether they're immigrants escaping a war zone or the actual American citizens who live there. You need to make sure that they are safe from these kinds of people, and giving them a safe place to sleep and wrap around services is not going to be fixing that. Giving them a safe place to sleep is not going to fix the fact that they are a criminal 14 times over. The Mamparas don't understand that people, no matter how deranged, are responsible for their actions and evil is real. Fucking criminal infantilization mama bear shit is insufferable. It really is. It really is. And if you're not able to do what needs to be done to criminals, if you don't have that kind of ability to treat them as criminals and instead want to mama them, then you shouldn't have any position of power. You just shouldn't. Meanwhile, in London yesterday, 83-year-old church reverend is arrested for holding up a sign the police deemed offensive. Meanwhile, sex offenders, phone snatchers, and knife-wielding thugs roam free across the streets of London. The UK has fallen. Imagine an 83-year-old church reverend, bro. What the fuck?
How old is Reverend Sue? She's well into her 90s.
No problem. Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is no change. Yeah, fine. We'll get you there on Thursday. At the moment, we can only take one.
Why did they arrest Grandma? The sign held by Reverend Sue Parfit read, "I oppose genocide. I support Palestine action." She was arrested under UK anti-terrorism laws for supporting the banned group during a protest on September 6, 2025. Banned group? I don't know what Palestine action is. Let me see. Priest 83 arrested at Palestine action protest. The law does not have an age limit. The head of the Metropolitan Police said after an 83-year-old priest was arrested for supporting a banned protest group. Reverend Sue Parfit from Henbury in Bristol was arrested on the same day the group was outlawed. She was attending a demonstration in Parliament Square, London on Saturday. The group became a prescribed organization under the Terrorism Act 2000 on Saturday, making membership or expressing support for them punishable by up to 14 years in prison. Okay. All right, if that is a sign in support of a terrorist group, then yeah, I understand this. And man, that Twitter post was obfuscating exactly what was happening. I would say the same thing. If somebody's in the US and they're holding a sign like celebrating Hamas or ISIS or some shit, yeah, probably should not have that. Probably should have the police just kind of scoop you up for a second and be like, hey, are you a terrorist? Met Police Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley said it's not about protests, this is about an organization committing serious criminality. A total of 29 people were arrested at the demonstration and have since been released on police bail pending further inquiries. The move to ban the organization was announced after 2 Voyager aircraft were sprayed with red paint at RAF Bryce Norton in Oxfordshire on June 20th. It caused about £7 million worth of damage. Holy shit. That's a lot of damage. I don't know what Voyager aircraft were, but god damn. £7 million worth of damage on 2 planes. MPs voted in favor of legislation to prescribe group Palestine Action as a terrorist organization on Friday. Home Security Yvette Cooper previously described the group as disgraceful and highlighted their long history of unacceptable criminal damage. On Saturday, Miss Parfit sat in a camp chair surrounded by other protesters, holding a placard stating her support for Palestine Action. As she was led away by police, she branded the ban total nonsense, adding it symbolized a loss of civil liberties in this country. How is it a loss of civil liberties to let a group designated as a terrorist group deal £7 million worth of damage to aircraft? I don't really understand that train of thought. Sir Mark was asked on the BBC's Sunday with Laura Kusenberg show whether it was a good use of police time. He said the law doesn't have an age limit, whether you're 18 or 80. If you're supporting prescribed organizations, then the law is going to be enforced. And he's right. I mean, look at those bombings that from that like one communist sympathizer group back in the like late 80s and whatnot. Or was it like in the 70s? I don't remember, but a bunch of them got pardoned by President Clinton in the 90s. Like, just look at that. They had older people working with them. And as much as I have a soft spot for old people, like, if you're supporting terrorism, it's probably not a good thing to do, buddy. Probably, maybe don't do that. You see some in chat have the same brain rot as Rand Paul. Being ideologically consistent means jack shit if the praxis makes you do retarded things. Newsflash, that means your ideology needs amending, not the other way around, lolberts. Yeah, seeing as many people as I've seen recently be like, no, you can't bomb terrorists and cartels in international waters. They need due process. It's like, no, I don't think they do, actually. And they're like, oh, but then don't complain when it happens to you. And it's like, you can't use the first they came for the Jews poem talking about legitimate, actual, unironic criminals. Like, come the fuck on. Officers, you can see, did it with great care and tried to preserve that person's dignity, but they're breaking a serious law. He added over the last 18 months, the group had been accused of committing some really serious criminal offenses, some of which are being taken to trial. And I mean, this just makes it like triply retarded, right? If the group had been going around sabotaging military planes recently, and then you throw up a sign in support of them, I would be more surprised if the authorities didn't talk to you, because they're gonna be like, hey, You're holding a sign in support of that group that keeps sabotaging millions of pounds worth of equipment that we have on military bases. Maybe we need to ask you some fucking questions. Michigan Police Department's Arabic script police patch paused amid approval concerns. The design, which displayed the words Dearborn Heights Police in both English and Arabic, lacked prior review and approval from city leadership, the mayor said. I have a feeling that it's not going to be very difficult to get this approved by the city leadership in Dearborn Heights, considering they were the first Muslim enclave in the US. So, I have a feeling this is going to probably come back. A Michigan mayor is walking back an announcement from the Dearborn Heights Police Department after the agency shared a new optional uniform patch featuring Arabic script. The patch, shown in a digital mock-up on September 3rd on the department's Facebook page, displayed the words Dearborn Heights Police in both English and Arabic. 2 days after the patch was revealed, city officials said the design was intended as an internal discussion and should not have been presented as an official option. Oops, we released it too soon and now people are angry. We should have waited a little longer so people wouldn't care as much. In a statement on September 5th, Mayor Bill Bozzi emphasized that the patch remains an idea and should not have been presented as an official prototype. Should efforts like this be formally undertaken to make any changes to the police uniform, it is our goal to include multiple PD stakeholders for a larger conversation. Stakeholders, not shareholders. To ensure all are included in the discussion, Bozzi said. As we are one police department, each individual's uniform represents the DHPD as a whole and therefore merits the review and input of all. Bozzi has also praised the department's community engagement efforts, citing the launch of the city's first Youth Explorers program and the hosting of its largest ever National Night Out event. I don't know what that means. The original Facebook post credited Officer Emily Murdoch, how could Murdoch Chan do this to us, was designing the patch to reflect the city's diversity, Fox 2 News Detroit reports. Dearborn Heights, located just west of Detroit, has a population of about 61,000, with nearly 39% of residents of North African or Middle Eastern descent, according to Fox 2 News.
You've been a bad girl.
That's kind of crazy. Emily, no! We have a little petition-y thingy here. Little petition to the Parliament of Australia land. Stop Visa and Mastercard from dictating access to legal content. Even if this goes nowhere, it'd be very interesting to see your government have to discuss it. Visa and Mastercard control the payment processor market in a monopoly that is not regulated in the least. These companies openly dictate access to services, sales, or operations of legal items, legal businesses, based on their own political views. Credit card processors should only be there to process legal transactions and not dictate what someone spends their money on. Visa and MasterCard are so big and control a market that can be equated to a utility. There are no alternatives widely available on the market, despite these companies acting as a key part of all payment infrastructure. Just like water companies or electricity providers are regulated to prevent them from stopping service based on arbitrary views, Visa and MasterCard should be held to the same standard. The petition request is we therefore ask the House to open antitrust investigations and penalize the unregulated monopoly of a key part of everyday infrastructure. Payment processors are not there to regulate what legal content people consume or to threaten companies who do not agree with the whims of people who run Visa and MasterCard. These payment processors should be there to process payments and regulated like a utility in today's day and age. So here's the link. If you live in Australia, you can sign this. I do not live in Australia, so I cannot sign this. I feel like this would be a very interesting thing to see government have to discuss. I would like our government to, I guess, talk about it a bit more as well. I know Trump has done that one executive order on debanking, and it does mention payment processors, but apparently they're just not giving a shit about it, ? So Japan Prime Minister Ishiba resigns after bruising election losses. September 7th here, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba resigned on Sunday, ushering in a potentially lengthy period of policy uncertainty at a shaky moment for the world's fourth largest economy. Having just ironed out the final details of a trade deal with the United States to lower President Donald Trump's punishing tariffs, Ishiba, 68, told a press conference he must take responsibility for a series of bruising election losses. Since coming to power less than a year ago, the unlikely premier has overseen his ruling coalition lose its majorities in elections for both houses of parliament amid voter anger over rising costs of living. He instructed his Liberal Democratic Party, which has ruled Japan for almost all of the post-war period, to hold an emergency leadership race, adding he would continue his duties until his successor was elected. With Japan having signed the trade agreement and the president having signed the executive order, we have passed a key hurdle, Ishiba said, his voice seeming to catch with emotion. I would like to pass the baton to the next generation. Ishiba has faced calls to resign since the latest of those losses in an election for the upper house in July. The LDP had been scheduled to hold a vote on whether to hold an extraordinary leadership election on Monday. Concern over political uncertainty prompted a sell-off in Japan's yen currency and its government bonds last week, with the yield on the 30-year bond hitting a record high on Wednesday. Investors are focusing on the chance of Ishiba being replaced by an advocate of looser fiscal and monetary policy, such as LDP veteran Sanae Takaichi, who has criticized the Bank of Japan's interest rate hikes. Ishiba narrowly defeated Takaichi in last year's LDP leadership runoff. Shinjiro Koizumi, the telegenic political scion, who had gained prominence as Ishiba's farm minister, is tasked with trying to cap soaring prices, is another possible successor. Given the political pressure mounting on Ishiba after the LDP's repeated election losses, his resignation was inevitable, said Katsutaka Maeda, economist at Meiji Yasuda Research Institute. No, not a woman. I can't tell if either of the successors, Koizumi or Takaichi, I can't tell if those are women or men names. I'm gonna be real honest with you. As for potential successors, Koizumi and Takaichi are seen as the most likely candidates. While Koizumi is not expected to bring major changes, Takaichi's stance on expansionary fiscal policy and her cautious approach to interest rate hikes could draw scrutiny from financial markets, Maeda said. Since the ruling coalition has lost its parliamentary majority, the next LDP president is not guaranteed to become prime minister, although that is likely as the party remains by far the largest in the lower house. Whoever becomes the next leader may choose to call a snap election to seek a mandate, an analyst said. While Japan's opposition remains fractured, the far-right anti-immigration Sanseido Party made big gains in July's upper house election, bringing once fringe ideas into the political mainstream. Nearly 55% of respondents to a poll by Kyodo News published on Sunday said that there was no need to hold an early election. Michael Brown, senior research strategist at financial markets brokerage Pepperstone, said that there was likely to be further selling pressure on the yen and long-dated bonds on Monday. That settling pressure is likely to come first from the market now needing to price a greater degree of political risk, not only in terms of the LDP leadership contest, but also the potential for a general election to be held if the new leader seeks a mandate of their own. JV, thank you. The women could do good. Britain's only female prime minister was pretty based. It's a crazy world when the woman is a viable option because all of the men are soyed out of their minds. Sanae is described as a hardline nationalist and hardline conservative. Sounds good, but you don't know much about JP politics. Ishiba, a party outsider who became leader on his 5th attempt last September. Damn. Man's never gave up. Wrapped up his brief tenure by completing the trade deal with Japan's biggest trading partner, pledging $550 billion of investments in return for lower tariffs. Trump's tariffs, especially those targeted at Japan's critical automotive sector, had forced Japan to downgrade its already weak growth outlook for the year. Ken Akamatsu, it's your time to shine, true. Why are so many ethno-nationalist tradcons pro-censorship? I don't know. Once again, it seems like horseshoe theory, where like the farther left and more communist you get, the more censorship is needed in order to make people go along with your dangerous ideology. And then on the other side, the more fascist you get, the more censorship you need to make people go along with your ideology. Ishiba said he hoped his successor could ensure the deal is executed and Japan continues generating wage gains to assuage voter concerns over living costs. He also expressed concern about the security environment his successor will inherit, pointing to an unprecedented gathering of Chinese, Russian, and North Korean leaders in Beijing for a massive military parade last week. Yoshinobu Tsutsui, Chairman of Japan's biggest business lobby, Kei Danrin, said that there's no time to lose with mounting domestic and international challenges. We hope the new leader will foster unity within the party, establish stable political conditions, and move swiftly to implement necessary policies, Tsutsui said. Some voters too are hoping for a steady hand in uncertain times. With all the turmoil around tariffs right now, I hope the next prime minister will be someone who can properly manage the tariff issues and handle diplomacy more efficiently, Maki Utsuno, a 48-year-old chemistry researcher, told Reuters outside a busy train station in downtown Tokyo on Sunday. I don't really know how we got to the point where the left has moved so far left that anyone slightly to the right of Mao is considered fringe right-wing. The fact that I would likely be indistinguishable from like a 1990s Democrat and people are calling me like fucking Hitler is a little silly. How have we gotten here, man? Well, it's great. It's great for Japan that Ishiba has resigned, but hopefully whoever replaces him is not going to be worse than him, because once you get rid of one bad guy, there's always the chance that unfortunately someone worse than him will replace him. So hopefully they can actually appoint someone who's not there to continuously ruin their country. Trump administration launches immigration crackdown in Massachusetts. The Trump administration has launched an operation in Massachusetts to arrest and deport undocumented immigrants, the New York Times and Boston media reported on Saturday. Quoting the Department of Homeland Security as saying it was targeting criminal aliens living in the state. DHS and its U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arm are calling the operation Patriot 2.0, modifying the name of a May deportation surge that led to the arrest of 1,500 people in the state, according to reports. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The operation is expected to last several weeks, the New York Times said, quoting unnamed sources with knowledge of the matter. One of the sources told the Times that Patriot 2.0 was focused on targeting immigrants who had been released from custody despite ICE agents attempting to pick them up from local jails. It was not immediately clear how many federal officers were involved in the crackdown, which comes as Chicago braces for a Trump administration ramp-up of deportations in the third largest U.S. city. NBC 10 Boston quoted a statement from a DHS spokesperson as deriding Boston Mayor Michelle Wu's so-called sanctuary policies. Sanctuary policies like those pushed by Mayor Wu not only attract and harbor criminals, but also place those public safety threats above the interests of law-abiding American citizens. ICE is arresting sex offenders, pedophiles, murderers, drug dealers, and gang members released by local authorities, the statement reported by NBC 10 said. And this is a good thing. If local politicians and local police aren't going to be cleaning up crime, and the politicians give heartwarming and encouraging statements toward criminals, and police let criminals out, the only option to return normalcy and law to an area is to do this. If the politicians won't protect their people, and if the cops are going to go by orders of the politicians instead of protecting the people, this is what must happen to bring normalcy back. And as soon as the feds leave, if the people re-vote for the politicians that caused this to happen, it's not going to get any better. It's going to go back to being just as bad as it was before.